Hey y'all, Star here, and guess who turns 21 tomorrow and still wants to kill themselves? Me! Yeah, so it's that time of year again where it's my birthday again, and I guess with this video I just wanted to do another sit down and talk video about everything that's just going on, and it just genuinely feels so tiring waking up in the morning and looking around with every day being the same, and then next thing you know I'm a day older, next thing you know I'm a week older, a month older, and then look at that, I'm a year older than what I was before, and everything is just getting worse and worse and worse. And I don't really have the will to live that much. And I know that a bunch of you guys are already planning on clicking off of this video without even giving it any type of watch or anything like that, which I'm not even surprised. You guys should probably just go watch Kai Sanat or whoever you watch, like Rakai or something, since you guys don't have the attention span to even understand anything I'm saying in this video. But in that case, for the people who are, just make sure you like and subscribe. And I know that, I don't really like asking for you guys to do that, but at the same time, it's like, I kind of need that subscriber count. Like, I need you guys to, actually care about what I'm doing because, come on, you follow Rikai, but not me. But anyways, life, we're just going to have another one of these talks because I just feel like it, it's before my birthday. And life really sucks. It's really painful waking up in the morning all the time and realizing, just how terrible life is and how bad it just continues to get for basically no reason whatsoever. And I know that that doesn't mean a lot to you guys, but to me it genuinely just sucks. I hate waking up and I hate seeing everything that's going on in the world and seeing how things are just constantly getting worse. Like the internet, for example, or life. And if I'm being honest, guys, I've wanted to kill myself since 2018, and I don't even remember how old I was in 2018 or whatever, but I've been wanting to do it for that long. Even when we left the golden age, which was 2019 was probably the last golden age, and 2020 was all right before everything went downhill because of COVID. And I'm not going to pretend as if COVID hasn't just ruined everything that we have worked for in society and just the happiness that we genuinely just used to have as a society. The internet is significantly worse, the economy is worse, everybody is more aggressive towards each other for the sake of being aggressive. There's a bunch of wars going on, we can't afford things anymore, nobody's allowed to be happy, dead internet theory is a thing. We just can't do anything anymore because there isn't even a lot that goes around that's enjoyable. And it's the only people who are enjoying their life are probably rich people, because especially content creators, because they get to do whatever the hell they want and they get so much money for just being a terrible person, and sometimes you guys just contribute to that, and it's just awful. And a lot of the time, I sometimes regret low-key just not killing myself, because seeing how the world is now and how everybody acts, just it's pretty much pointless for me to even be alive at this point. But for some reason, I just didn't do it. And to be honest, you kind of have to have the balls to actually end up killing yourself rather than it being the other way around. Because at this point, I'm kind of just forcing myself to live for absolutely no reason when everything around me is pretty much just crumbling, especially my mental health, which is something that people don't really seem to care about at all nowadays. And to be honest, there's very few things in this world now that genuinely make me happy. And it's kind of saddening how just 10 years ago I was so happy and jolly, and now we live in the world that we do now and everything is just a genuine shit show. Again, I think it's around 2018 where things started to slowly get worse and how the world started to shift into a worse place. But I don't think it was until 2020 before everything truly went downhill, especially with COVID. And I'm not going to pretend that COVID wasn't awesome, because hey, I could stay indoor and play video games all day and hang out with my friends on Discord and play Counter-Strike and not have to go to school. And then on the other hand of all of that, you also realize how genuinely awful COVID is and the everlasting effect that it has had on so many people who are alive today. Like remote jobs are a crazy thing now. Nobody wants to hire. Inflation is off the roof because it gave companies the excuse to just raise prices of things and keep it at that, and nobody proceeds to question it. I think that the worst part is just how people act nowadays. Back in the day, people on the internet weren't the way that they used to. The internet used to be a very niche place for the most part because parents were somewhat responsible. And now all you do is that you have these fucked ass millennial parents who end up just giving their kids iPads and iPhones and not supervising them, and then they end up getting access to the internet. Porn has gone absolutely out of hand, and now it's everywhere you go. There's no type of user safety or any type of people thinking about how they could keep their stuff away from minors, or just in certain places. They just post it wherever, whenever they want, and they get praised for doing so. Dead internet theory is a real thing, and more than 90, no, not 91, 51% of the internet nowadays is ran by rage baiters and bots and content farms and all these different types of things in order to make money. And it's just genuinely depressing. And then we go back to the whole thing with people just being mean on the internet for just the sake of being mean, and it genuinely just feels awful, not even just in the internet but just in general, where you can't go anywhere or do anything without people feeling like they need to be rude or mean for absolutely no reason whatsoever. And I guarantee you, around COVID or even before COVID, things were completely different. People were a lot more respectful, and people knew how to actually act around each other rather than just fighting with each other, acting up, doing all these insane things to upset other people. And it's really sad that this is kind of the world that we live in now, where everybody is so negative to each other, and then other people have to convince others that they have to be nice, while those people who are convincing them are very mean themselves. And I think nowadays, you should be rewarded for being a good person, because it's genuinely so hard and impossible to try to find good people in this society now, the way how it was normalized 10 years ago, or even 8, 5, however long it's been, since COVID. But everybody's just an asshole for absolutely no reason. And I think the worst part is that people are so ignorant and so full of themselves in their own little bubbles that the second that you challenge their idea or interrupt their bubble, they absolutely lash out on you just for the sake of lashing out. You can't even voice an opinion on the internet anymore without people having to get angry at you for the sake of just getting angry at you. And it's really just depressing. You could say that you like waffles, for example, and people who like pancakes will be the most insufferable people imaginable and send you death threats just because your opinions don't align with them. And it's just this entire thing of wannabe toxic positivity, or just a toxic mindset where whatever they do is the only thing that's right, which is basically the same mindset that my own mom is in, and she started to lose her mind quite a while ago as well. So I'm not even surprised that even her, out of all people, ended up becoming one of these people where if it's not what she thinks or what she wants, then it's not right. And it's basically the same for a good chunk of the people on the internet. Nobody ever questions other people, or even has any idea to maybe sit down to talk to them to try to understand their point of view and try to get to understand them better as a person. People will just hear one thing, associate it with another thing, and then absolutely lose their minds on this person, despite the fact that they haven't even done anything bad. Obviously, that depends on the context of everything, but I think that people don't listen to anybody anymore, and they just listen to themselves. And if you don't agree with them, they just absolutely freak out on you just for the sake of freaking out on you. And it's kind of sad how everybody is so brain rotted now that nobody is deciding to become a philosopher and ever question anything anymore. Nobody questions or wants to discover anything or try to make society a better place. Everybody just wants to fight and be stupid for the sake of doing so, outside of all these greedy things. And I think one of the most insane things about this whole situation too is that remember how beautiful everything was 10 years ago, or even 8 years ago, 7 years ago, 6 years ago at this point? Things used to just genuinely be better, especially with the content that a lot lot of YouTubers and people were producing at the time. It's amazing to think about how like so many people nowadays are younger than like 2016 and will or were like alive but babies in 2016 and will pretend as if people or like celebrities, I guess like YouTubers, for example, who were uploading content and alive during 2016 are suddenly some of the worst people on earth for absolutely no reason. But nobody ever questions the guys like Rakai, Kaisanat, Captain Dan, Jack Dorothy, Neon, Convicular, and all these other bozos who run around and cause chaos absolutely everywhere. All these Twitch streamers and everything. Nobody ever questions about what they're doing, and everybody is so focused on what the guy, this one obscure YouTuber, did 10 years ago, and they pretend as if they're the worst person on earth, as if the people who are currently getting famous aren't significantly worse by 30 times. People will look at Leafy's here and pretend as if he's Satan, but then they'll praise him when he proceeded to call out Pokimane for all of those insane things that she did. Are we seriously pretending as if Pokimane isn't worse than Leafy is here? And I know that like a lot of these YouTubers have done certain things and so on, but I mean, even when we take a look at iDubbbz, for example, yeah, I think it's a little sad that he kind of became a pussy and everything, especially with what's going on with him. But I think what's worse is that people are still attacking him despite the fact that he's gone out of his way to kind of improve himself and be a better person and acknowledge that the things that he said in the past weren't right, and he was genuinely very remorseful for that. And that's something that I kind of respect. Do I think that his content is bad, or the old content I grew up with is bad? No, not really. And honestly, as a minority, I could care less if the guy said the N-word, because at least he wasn't being hateful with it. He's not going out of his way to be hateful with saying the N-word. I don't care. You guys let your Mexican friends say it all the time, but suddenly when the famous guy says it, suddenly it's the worst thing to have ever happened. Which is kind of funny, because a lot of these things that some of these YouTubers are getting exposed for are the same exact thing that like the average Goyim does, and then they just get mad at famous people for doing so, despite the fact that like nothing is going to change. They're not racist, and that they're not making people become racist just because they said something racist for a skit or something like that, for example. Like, it just really does not matter. At this point, I think it's just a genuinely insane double standard, because why can I Am Wildcat scream the N-word, but as soon as iDubbbz says it, suddenly it's 9/11 times 3? Like, it's just such a stupid mentality that people are in, where they think that they're progressive, but they're actually way worse than the people who are saying certain things. That's kind of just my view on it, and honestly, I don't even feel like getting into that whole topic, because it's just not really worth getting into. But I mean, seriously, guys, the world has gotten worse. Like, there's tons of wars going on, like Ukraine and Russia and Israel and Palestine. And I don't know why people are just completely ignoring it. I don't understand why people don't understand how inflation is slowly killing them. And everybody is just too ignorant and thinks that they're better than everybody else. And then people also don't really do anything to improve themselves or do something good for themselves, and it genuinely just sucks, even if we like skip the whole world getting worse part, which, by the way, if you somehow don't see how the world's getting worse, you're kind of just forcing yourself to be in some random ass toxic positive like mentality, and probably retard maxing at this point, because there's no way you could genuinely live in life nowadays, especially as a young adult or even a teenager, and seeing how people are just fighting for absolutely no reason whatsoever, and that millions are dying just for the sake of old people not liking each other. Like, it's just so pointless, at this point. But even then, if we just want to focus on myself, yeah, I genuinely just haven't been happy in years, and it feels like that a lot of things have just been getting worse, with only very small amount of things kind of going my way, or just good happening. And there's not a lot of things also in this world that make me happy. Like, I kind of just wake up, feel blank 24/7, feel sad at night because I'm a lonely chud, go to sleep, wake up, and then repeat the entire process for years to come at this point. And there's only very few things in this world that give me enjoyment, and it's really sad to see how even those few things that give me enjoyment are pretty much going down the drain for the sake of just going down the drain. Like, it's not even interesting or fun at this point to even learn about certain things because of just how bad it's getting for people. For example, I'm a pretty big video game guy and I love building computers and collecting all these different types of things. Like, those are kind of my main hobbies. And to see how bad technology is getting without any real world improvements, and then the next release of something that's supposed to be big isn't exciting at all, is just genuinely depressing. Because I remember when I was a kid and I was learning about computers, there were so many cool things that were coming out, like ray tracing and stuff, and just how powerful some of these older cards were, and like how these companies actually cared for the people who were giving them money and doing something good for them. And nowadays, you kind of just look at everything and it's just not as impressive as it once was. All it is that next year you get a refresh that barely adds anything for quadruple the price. And video games, on the other hand, also kind of suck. You know, there's a lot of video games out there that were kind of decent. You know, like Modern Warfare 2019 was an absolutely legendary game, and now it's like the new Call of Duties are just so bad for absolutely no reason. And I'm not going to pretend as if these games aren't dog shit to begin with. And I'm also not going to pretend that like not a lot of things have been happening or have been interesting in gaming recently. And it feels like even when certain games come out that I'm interested in, they end up flopping like crazy. Like, I really wanted to get Mixtape, and then next thing you know, Mixtape ends up just being this whole scandal, you know? So it just sucks seeing how it's kind of ended up like that, you know? And even then, like, people are going to say, oh, you need to play indie games. I'm sorry to say, but a good chunk of indie games that exist are not really good, and I just don't find interest in a good chunk of them. Not saying that indie games are bad or anything, but it's just like I don't find interest. And honestly, even if we're talking about like content creation and stuff like that in video games, I think what like really sucks is that like I just can't make content nowadays. Like, I have no idea what people genuinely want to watch from me because I've experimented with at least 4 to 5 different types of videos, and nobody has ever really given a shit about my videos to even care enough to sit down to really watch it all the way through or to do anything with it. And every time I make one of these videos where I just want to sit down and talk to you guys about something, it always ends up just flopping for the sake of flopping. But whenever I make a video that I genuinely don't care about at all, people end up watching it, and it's just so confusing because you know, you'd think that people would care enough to maybe listen to what another person has to say. But unless I'm like Rakai and I'm being loud and annoying, nobody really cares about the type of stuff that I have to say. Even if I want to try to raise a new generation of children off of like genuinely entertaining or good content, or maybe even something where they could sit down and learn something for themselves in the future rather than acting and growing up and becoming like Rakai. And it's just really catastrophic that this is kind of where we are now, where this is basically just the case. And I don't even know what to make for content. Like, as I mentioned, I don't even know what I want to make for content because I've always told you guys I've always wanted to have a group of friends to sit down and be unhinged with on YouTube rather than solely just like doing nothing and making pointless content. You know, like sometimes I feel like whenever I make solo content, it always ends up just sucking and not really being anything because there's nobody I'm able to talk to try to make the video entertaining. And if I say something unhinged, like, yeah, it's pretty funny, but nobody really cares that much about whatever I do. And it's a little depressing that this is kind of the point where we are now. And it still sucks that even after a year from where I made my original before I turned 20 video, that I'm still stuck in this point where I have absolutely nobody to play with, absolutely nobody to do anything with, and I'm just stuck here just trying to think about what is the best course of action to do for content. And I always end up wasting a bunch of time because I don't know what kind of content I'm supposed to be making for everybody, because nobody really seems to care enough about the type of content that I release for them. And I don't know what I'm supposed to say. Like, life genuinely is just not interesting anymore. And when I try to do some good for people, nobody ends up caring about the good that I do. And we actually, here's a favorite quote that I kind of made: doing good in a world full of evil means absolutely nothing. And that's true, because as I mentioned before, no matter how much you do good, people are just going to hate you no matter what, even if you're doing something that's beneficial to them for advantage. Being a good person doesn't mean anything. And as mentioned, I think that people who are good should be rewarded for being good, because of the fact that nobody in this world wants to be as good as the person that's trying to help others out and do good things for literally everybody, including them or even themselves. And I know that's a little insane to say, but nonetheless, it's completely true. And I think it's really sad that we're kind of at this point where we are now. And it really sucks where it feels like I'm trying to be good and I'm trying to force myself to make all this type of content for you guys, just for nobody to bother clicking on the video in the first place to even understand anything that I want to do. And when I was a kid, it was a really big dream of mine to become a content creator and make funny, insane things. But I simply just can't do that, because people aren't going to sit down and care about the type of content that I do. And things have changed so much that, like, you have to be insufferable in order for people to, in order for you to get other people's attention. And it really sucks, because if I knew that everything was going to be the way it was now, I probably would have actually just killed myself in 2018, because then I would have realized that there wasn't really a point of living up to where I am now, and that everything is, as mentioned, just continuing to get worse for the sake of getting worse, And I really don't know what else I'm supposed to say, because even like, I mean, that statement I just made is kind of just like a general thing, but even on the content side of things, it's really sad how far away we've strayed from, like, the wackiness and nicheness of the internet to it being such a widespread thing that you aren't even allowed to do anything that's technically fun anymore without people hounding you down for the sake of just hounding you down. And it feels like that I can't do anything without, like, I just don't really know, like, just with everything getting worse by the day, it just genuinely feels like that any impact I want to try to have on people's lives to do any type of good is just completely pointless. And honestly, I kind of started to go back to my old angry mentality, instead of, like, forcing myself to be toxically positive as I was doing before. And, like, although it felt kind of good to be positive, at the same time, with everything that's going on right now, there's no reason to try to lie to myself and force myself to be positive if I can't be positive when everything is just going wrong by the minute. I kind of just want to relax and do my own thing instead of just living in this dog shit hell that we live in currently. It's really saddening, but there's nothing that I could even do about it either. I think that's, like, one of the worst things about it as well. And it feels like that my brain's just filling up with fog and that I'm not really getting out what I want to say. But I mean, that's just how the world is. That's just how everything is right now and how everything is going. And, like, what am I supposed to do, man? Like, with everything just going downhill, with kids becoming illiterate, with people relying on AI for everything, there's just nothing that I could do, or because of just how stupid people have been becoming. And I mean, it's kind of depressing, and Like, I'm sorry that this video really isn't something that you guys would probably be interested in. I know that a lot of people don't give a shit about these talk videos, but I mean, it's just a way for me to somewhat vent or just talk about everything that's kind of going on because it's just how depressing everything is, you know. Even like trying to get into a relationship with somebody that's normal is also just completely impossible. Like anything that would be like net positively good for you just ends up being the worst thing imaginable. And it's like people are choosing like AI boyfriends or girlfriends because of how others act nowadays towards them. And to be honest, I've been suffering with this type of shit for years now. So it's like you just gotta give up, you know? I gave up a while ago, and I mean, like, other people are doing the same exact thing. And it's just like, what else, you know? Like, what else are you supposed to do other than force yourself into a mentality where you can't do anything the way you kind of want to, or just in general, you know? Like, it's just so hurtful to kind of see how the world is right now and how everything is. And like again, like I really just don't even know what to say anymore at this point because like is there anything else for me to even say? It's just saddening watching time go by and how things that used to bring me joy just don't do anything for me anymore. And like it's just saddening, you know, that this is kind of where we are right now and how nothing is going to change because people don't want to do anything for the better of humanity or anybody else, you know. And like I don't really like making videos like this, for example, because I want to like have something that's fun, you know. And I also guess that, you know, talking about these things are is also like important as well. And you know, sometimes I really wish that maybe there was like somebody who would be there to kind of care enough to actually listen to what someone like me has to say, you know. And I like and I don't want to like be negative or anything crazy like that. It's just how everything is just going right now. And like I just wish people kind of had like a better idea of what was kind of going on and maybe just how I feel. Because I think one of the worst things about all of this is too is that I genuinely don't have anybody to sit down and talk about this to other than myself. Like, doesn't that suck to just not have anybody to talk to, like a therapist, to see maybe what they could do to kind of change my mind with what's going on and everything? And I guess what I just want to say in general is that I really think that it sucks that I'm straying further away from the days that used to make me happy and the days that actually used to make sense, and that we're living in a complete dystopia where we are now, where people like Jeffrey Epstein have completely ruined the future and just society in general, while people are just getting completely stupider. And like, I think that's what really annoys me, you know, because like I'm 20 now, and 10 years ago I was 10 years old, and now like tomorrow I would have been 11 years old 10 years ago. You know, same with, you know, I'm turning 21, and it's just like, you know, those days were genuinely just so joyful and so happy for me, just being able to be alive and being able to hang out with all the people around me. And now I'm in college, forcing myself to do stuff that I genuinely don't even care about just to satisfy people because I'm the only good one in my family on my mom's side, I guess, surprisingly. So I just have to force myself to do things I don't want to in order to be supported and actually noticed. which I mean kind of sucks, but like what else am I supposed to do, you know? There's just nothing else for me to be doing because whenever I try to do something, it always just gets shut down. But as mentioned, yeah, I think it's just really depressing that we're just straying away from the days that used to be so good, you know, that golden era. And it's not a matter of fact of it being blinded or rose tinted glasses of nostalgia that Pyro Cynical once used to say, which Pyro can't even talk about anything. And I'm not even going to get into that just because he's a fat fur chud and so on. But it's not even the matter of fact of that. It's just that those days were genuinely so good and so entertaining to live in and just be through. And now you look at what's going on in today's world and you see just how genuinely terrible everything is. Like, memes aren't even funny anymore, and it's just brain rot that doesn't even make sense. And it's not even the matter of fact of maturing, because I'll still laugh at stupid shit. It's a matter of fact that like memes aren't even memes anymore. Like, there's no way that kids look at tung 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 sahur and think that that's the funniest thing that's ever happened to them, you know? Like, there's got to be genuinely just better stuff out there nowadays that people can be interested in rather than some stupid chud, you know, AI slop, right? And it's like, yeah, I mean, I don't really laugh at the memes that I once used to anymore, or really enjoy anything that I once used to anymore. But at least back in the day, I used to have so much fun laughing at all these things. And again, just straying further away from the days that made me happy and the days that were genuinely glorious is just sad. And I just hope that sometime in the future, maybe we'll have those golden days again. Because it doesn't matter how old you are or how bad of a mental state you are in, as long as the golden days come back, as like the golden years come back, where everybody could be happy and there's nothing genuinely just bad happening in society for no reason, then yeah, I think that everybody can be happy and that everybody can do things and have fun and so on. Like, obviously there's still going to be a few bad things that happen, but like everything that's going on right now, it's like all this negativity is just outweighing all the positivity that's supposed to be going around. And like, yeah, I do focus on the positivity, but at the same time, I can't go back, you know, I can't help but go back and focus on negativity because that's just how humans are. And it's amazing to me just how like I don't even know what like the word or anything would be, but genuinely it's just like amazing how like you go back into the past nowadays and it's like, again, like how good things were now. It's just like you see how depressing everything is, you know? Like even now, like I remember when a bottle of Coke, like a can of Coke used to cost $1, now it's like $2. And I remember how like a bottle of Coke used to be $1.25 and now it's $3. It's just like, and you know, wage isn't going up. It's like, how am I supposed to afford this, man? Like, everything's raising in price and like I'm not allowed to have fun. Like, I'm not even allowed to live as a person. Like, I just have to suffer for the sake of suffering for absolutely no reason whatsoever. And nobody ever takes a second to sit down and question anything because of what's going on. And it's saddening, man. It's just so saddening seeing how everything is just turning out, you know? I really wish that we could live in that golden era once again. And I don't know how long it's going to take before we end up entering one. But with everything going on right now, it's just saddening. And I really, again, like, at this point in time, I just don't know what to say about it. And like, I don't really like making depressing videos like this. But again, I don't really have anybody to talk to. And sometimes, again, I feel like it's important to kind of sit down and talk about topics like these because nobody really wants to sit down and talk about this. And like, we're allowing terrible people to enjoy their lives instead of you being the ones to enjoy yourselves and to genuinely just be happy in so many other ways. Video being as long as it is, I really don't want to make this a long video, and I really don't want to continue to drag out anything that I don't like unnecessarily need to drag out. So I think that this is probably going to be the end of the video. And honestly, for content, I really don't know what I'm going to be doing for the future because it seems that like anything that I try to do ends up failing over and over again. And it really doesn't give me the motivation to keep going, especially if I can make short quick videos on TikTok, and then that's where everybody suddenly decides to care about what someone like me has to say. So with that, this is my video for my before I turned 21. I hope you guys possibly enjoyed this video. I'm sorry that it had to kind of be sad and depressing like this, but I mean, I'm sure that there are going to be good things that are going to be happening in the future and so on. You just really never know when that golden era is going to come back again, or when something is going to come back and be good, because to be honest guys, I'm really just tired of living off of short dopamine rushes that don't really mean anything, than overall just being happy like I did like 8 years ago at this point. So anyways, I will see you guys later.